Good morning. Today we're going to read Joshua 23. It's a pretty short chapter, so go ahead and pause me and read Joshua chapter 23. Okay, so this is Joshua saying, you know what? I'm an old man. I'm fixing to die. And there's a couple of things as your leader I need to say to you before that happens. So there's this thought that as we age and we see the end coming, that there's just stuff we need to pass on. And we become almost impatient to get an understanding among whoever it is we're trying to, usually our kids, we're trying to tell and make them understand. And a lot of it is wisdom that, you know, as old people, we've just seen more than most young people. Some young people have seen a lot. So he says, remember that God did this all. I didn't do it. You didn't do it. God did it all. So, and he's going to continue to do it. So there were these, it says, you know, God has driven them out of your land. But there's these little pockets, apparently, where they didn't drive out everybody. So for the most part, the land is theirs. But they never really drove out that little pocket of Philistines. And there's just little pockets that they needed to take care of. And all they had to do was go out and get them, and God would have handed them over to you. So in verse 6, he starts, be very strong and obey the Lord. And here's some do nots if you look through the rest of the chapter. Do not associate with these nations that remain. Do not invoke the names of their gods or swear them. Do not serve them or bow down to them. In verse 12, do not intermarry with them and associate with them. In verse 16, it goes on down. If you violate the covenant and go and serve other gods, the God's anger will burn against you. I mean, Joshua's just saying, hey guys, there's lots of things you can do here, but a big do not is don't be friends with these guys. Don't associate with them. I mean, it says just do not associate with these nations. So, and what we wonder why they did, and there's a couple of things that really stand out is why these guys, these little pockets had so much power. And there's many reasons, but one of the reasons is because of this gift of sight that God has given us. We really like a God we can see. It's really hard for us to have faith in a God that we can't see, that we can't touch, that we can't hear. We need to be able to see sometimes to believe. You know that old saying, seeing is believing? Well, it's very hard. Also, a God, so the other thing is they grew up in this culture of gods. They grew up in Egypt. They grew up in this culture of gods, and so, you know, the nature-nurture argument, even though they've been told, they've seen God work, a lot of this is just second nature to them. They've seen these gods, and some of them, hey, you could put it in your pocket. So you could control God. You could carry God with you wherever you wanted. So you could see that God was with you at the supermarket. And so there's that controlling, seeing. And the other thing was that a lot of the gods in the Canaanite area were fertility gods and gods of agriculture. So these were the two things that Israel did. They were an agricultural society, and they had children, many children, and they wanted to have children to multiply and be fruitful. So they were kind of a little superstitious, kind of like, you know, the baseball player that taps his bat to the home plate 3 times before he takes his stance. I mean, it's a little bit superstitious, and, you know, why not be safe? Why not? We don't really want to make these agriculture gods mad, so we'll just go and say hey to them, and it'll be okay. So, there's a lot of convenience. I can carry him with me. I don't have to believe. I don't have to work my mind. It's really easy to worship a God that you can see, that you can touch. And a lot of it is just, you know, why not? Why not? It's not going to hurt anything. Even if I really don't believe this God, I'm just going to, just in case, I'm going to go worship this God. So there's lots of reasons that these Canaanites, and there's many, many others, didn't completely, well, there's lots of reasons they didn't wipe them out, and there's lots of reasons they eventually merged with these pockets of Canaanites and started worshiping their gods. So then in verse I lost my place. So in the verses 14 through 16, Joshua is reminding him, okay, you can't see these gods, but you can see everything he's done for you. He has done everything he promised and more. You're here. You're enjoying the fruits of God's labors. You have really worked very little for this, even though you've had to work for it, but you've worked very little in comparison. And you're very strong. God can still fight for you, will still fight for you. Back up in verse 10, one of you can rout 1,000 because God fights for you. So be very careful to love your God. The lesson is just be careful what you're allowing yourself to conveniently idolize, conveniently put before God. Convenience is a powerful lure in our busy society. So be careful what is too convenient for you.